Hey there, I'm Vicki Howell, here to show you the hows and the why to use a yarn swift. A yarn swift is, there are a lot of different kinds, but I'm going to be talking about umbrella swifts, and you can get them in plastic and metal, or like the Vicki Howell Aqua wooden ones that you see here. This is a really great tool for any knitter, crocheter, or weaver, or fiber artist that ever works with really nice yarns that are hanked. So you can use one by itself, which is what I'm going to show you how to do, or with a ball winder like this one, or they come in all different kinds. So you can use it either way. If you were only going to get one tool between the two, I would definitely go with a swift because, like I said, you can use it without a winder. It's really hard to use a winder without a swift. You can do it with a chair, but sometimes it is hot mess hanks can happen. So, and let me be your cautionary tale, we have a lot of yarn and timeouts when we tried it here, so it's best to get some kind of swift. All right, so first, before we dive in, I want to talk to you about hanks and why they're in it. So you may have noticed that you go to the yarn store, or maybe you're ordering online, and you see yarn that comes like this that is not already in a ball. And I know that that can be frustrating because all you want to do is you want to go straight to your project. But the reason for it is that, especially with animal fibers, it's really good for them to be able to breathe. And when yarn is wound into a ball, it stretches it a little bit, or has the potential to stretch it. So it's better to minimize the amount of time that it's wound so that the full bloom of the fibers can come. So that's one reason. There are other fibers that are maybe not animal fibers, like let's say a rayon, or anything. It could be an animal fiber like a silk that is super shiny. Those tend to not really hold up well in balls. So when they're being shipped or put on shelves, say at your favorite LYS, they may look not very pretty, and that can become a logistical nightmare as well. So it's just easier or makes more sense for the fiber for them to come that way. All right, so now that we've done that, let's talk about how to actually use your swift to wind a ball. So we're going to talk about hand winding only. So you'll get one, and they'll come in all different sizes. This is a little mini one that we have. The first thing that you want to do is you want to take your little knob on the bottom of this swift and push it up and then twist to lock. You just kind of eyeball it because you're not sure how wide you need or how much circumference you need, because hanks are actually wound at different circumferences based on whatever the company's own swift was set at the time. So you want to unfurl your hank like I just did, and it'll usually be tied in one, if not several places, which is just to keep the hank nice and tidy while it's being shipped and dyed. And you want to lay it over the swift, and then you'll see here that there's a lot of give here. You don't want that. That is how yarn falls and gets tangled. So I'm going to loosen up this little screw again, and I'm going to raise it until you don't want to break the yarn, but you want it to be nice and taut. Okay, and then you want to tighten it so it stays in place. And then I'm going to move over to wherever my little tied spots are. And you want to just snip those with scissors. Sometimes it'll be in the yarn, it'll be the yarn that you're actually working with that that is used to tie, and sometimes it'll be something completely independent, like a nylon thread. Either way, you need to get rid of those. And you might notice that you have two loose ends, so you just sort of make a life decision on which one you're going to grab. It doesn't generally matter. I usually choose the one that presents itself most on top. I don't know if you can see, but underneath here, it's a little bit under some of the threads. It would be fine, or strands rather, but I just feel like the path of the least resistance is the best way to go. All right, so as you can see, when you start pulling the yarn, the swift starts rotating so that you can keep going without there being any tangles. So to start to hand wind a ball, you just take, and this is not a center pull ball, this is just a traditional ball. You take a little bit and you just wind it around a few fingers until you get like a little nubbin, so you have a center point. And then you take it and you pinch it through with your fingers, and you start to wind it around, and you just start rotating it. And at first it'll feel a little bit unwieldy, but you keep going. Okay, so I won't make you watch the entire ball being wound, but what I do want to do is show you something that I was actually a professional knitter for at least a decade before I got told that this was a thing. I think veteran Deborah Newton is one of the people that schooled me at a VK Live at one point. So as you're winding, you want to wind, see how I have the ball pinched? You want to wind around your fingers a few times. And then you pull out your fingers and then you start winding, you rotate the ball and then you start winding again. And why you're doing that is you are creating some space in between the winds. So we talked about stretching at the beginning of this video. Your yarn stretches the least because you're not making this really tight ball. And it'll end up saving your yarn, it'll keep your gauge nice and even, and all in all, it'll just present a nicer ball. So you can see that's well on its way. You would just keep doing it until your yarn was completely wound. This is still really nice and tidy. You don't have to have anybody holding it, you know, old school style. You don't have to wear it around your neck or have it around a chair or your knees. Makes it really easy. Not to mention my aqua wood swifts are pretty if I do say so myself. So if you want to check one of these out, please go to yarnyay.com, and if you have any questions, you can post them in the comment section. Thanks.